So you're looking for a car that's affordable, performs well, looks nice, and drives nice, and can drift like this. You want the best thing you can find, but you don't want to break the bank. Welcome to Be Driven. So, obviously you're looking for a car that you can drift, doesn't break the bank, and you're probably just starting out, so this is perfect. Okay, so if you haven't done any looking, some of the best drift cars in the world for not a ton of money, you can get a BMW, you can get an E36 and E46, you could get a Miata, maybe even an FRS 86 BRZ. I don't think any of them compare to a 350 or a 370. So out of all those cars I just mentioned, 350s and G35s or 370s or G37s are the most powerful out of all of them. An FRS comes with 200, a Miata comes with maybe 110, E36 is like 150, 160. 350Z actually comes with just shy of 300 horsepower. And I've actually personally driven a lot of drift cars, and I will tell you right now, this is the right one to go to if you're on a budget and you want performance right away. I actually own an FRS as well, so I can tell you this with personal experience driving both of them. I learned how to drift with an FRS before I got this. This is my 2003 Nissan 350Z. It's the DE, so it's not the HR. The difference is the DE only revs to 6,500, the HR revs to 7,500. But I bought this car a couple months ago for $6,800. It had 110,000 miles on it, and it's a beast of a drift car. And besides all the cosmetic mods that I did to it, really there's not much you need to do to perform well in this car. Whether you're taking it on the street or on the track, you really don't have to do much to drift this thing. Bought it for a little less than $7,000, bone stock except for an exhaust and an intake. And since then I really haven't done a ton. Obviously it's wrath pink, it's originally orange on the inside, it looks like that, and I absolutely hated that shit, so I got rid of it. All you really have to do to make it actually drift is cut all the traction control wires and weld the diff, and you're pretty much in the game. So if I kept this car bone stock, didn't wrap it, didn't do the wheels, didn't do anything except for weld the diff and cut the wires, I'd pretty much be in the game. Welding a diff is a couple $100, so maybe $7,100 to drift this car. That's not bad. And there is nothing under this hood except for a cold air intake, literally sitting right there. That's it. Now you're probably on the fence of which car you want to get. You don't know which one's faster, more expensive, which is better for what, how much work you're gonna have to do to each one. So I'm gonna help you decide by comparing them all to this. E36s, you're probably not gonna be able to find a super clean one with super low miles for a good price because everybody beats the actual crap out of them. 130,000 miles on it. It's a manual, it's a clean title, but that was 3.5, maybe 4 grand more than my Z behind me, and an E36s only have like 160 horsepower. So less horsepower, more expensive. Probably it's a BMW too, so you're probably gonna have to break some stuff and fix it all. BMWs are great drift cars, but they're not, I would say if you're gonna pick one or the other, 10 grand for an E36 with 160 horsepower or 7 for a Z with almost 300. Keep in mind, it's very likely that you're gonna have to weld the diff on any of these cars and cut all the traction control wires so you actually slide. So the next thing to compare it to is the FRS BRZ/H6. Any of those are the exact same car, really. That car has about 200 horsepower. The only issue with it is it's definitely hard to get up to speed. It has really low torque, it has a massive torque dip. The FRS is good, but only in like first gear, unless you're going like 40 or 50 in second. It doesn't really work unless it's really slippery. Those cars are about 10 to 15 grand. All I had done was an intake and exhaust, and I actually haven't switched the diff, so the LSD that comes in an FRS is actually pretty good for drifting, so you probably won't have to weld a diff or do any of that stuff. And the FRS is a really balanced car, so it handles pretty well. So compared to a Z, I would say out of all of these, the FRS is more than likely the closest comparison. And the last one is the Miata. Now the only problem with Miatas is they are so dang slow, you're really gonna have to be redlining it all the time. The benefit of a Miata is they're so light, and if you strip the interior, it's like to the point where you're driving a literal go-kart. Like, it's ridiculous. A 1997 Mazda Miata for $7,500. So a little bit more than what I paid for this, for half the horsepower and half the space. And I've driven almost every single one of the cars that I just talked about, and I can say without a doubt, a 350Z is the best way to go. And you can ask any pro drifter, they're gonna say the exact same thing. What's the best beginner drift car? That. Okay, so now that I've single-handedly convinced you to get a Z, let's talk about what you gotta watch out for. Okay, it's not a perfect car, but it's pretty perfect, especially right out of the box. But you gotta watch for some things. Because especially G35s and some 350Zs, they're kind of known for being takeover cars, so you don't really want to buy somebody who took a car to a takeover. When you're looking for a 350 or a G35, make sure it's under 125,000 miles, 130,000 miles. That should be pretty good, depending on the owner. If it's a young kid, definitely don't buy it from a young kid. If some 16-year-old kid is offering to sell you his G35 with 150,000 miles, he's probably spent an hour and a half every single day red lighting that motherfucker. Another thing you always want to watch out for is the oil. Yes, these cars actually do drink a lot of oil, and I pretty much check my oil every other day. You really just got to take care of it like a normal car. Get an oil change every 3 to 5K, and then you're pretty much in the game. You also want to make sure it's not an HR. A lot of people will tell you, get the HR. The DE is way more reliable. Make sure you don't buy an automatic Z. Please don't do that. Buy the manual. You have to get the manual. Now, I'm not just going to tell you that this car is great and not tell you what's gone wrong, because some things have gone wrong. So I've had to replace all 4 of my wheel bearings on all 4 sides at least once. I've broken my AC belt twice, so I just don't even have that at this point because I don't need AC. I've broken 2 axles, I think, and I had my thermostat replaced in the front because I had to actually, the car was overheating. But that's really it. But these are all things that happened over the course of time. It wasn't like all at once. So just be aware of that because it's inevitable. Things are gonna break when you're drifting a car. Best bang for your buck, a 350Z is no doubt the way to go. Okay, so you want to see how it drives? Let's go for a drive. We'll do a first gear pull right. So it definitely has good power, good torque, it sounds good. It actually does put you in your seat a little bit. It's a very comfortable car to drive around. Like if I didn't drift this, I would have no problem just dailying it as just a daily car. All right, now we're gonna go to some roads where I can actually push this thing to the limit. Show y'all what 7 grand can get you. It's actually quite an easy car to drive, especially if you don't even know how to drive manual. Put my foot to the floor, and we off. Damn. Definitely put you in your seat. So it handles pretty well. We're going pretty quick around this corner. Now if I want to slow down and drift the corner, very simple. Put your clutch in, rev the car up, dump that clutch, and slide. That simple. Handles basically like a Miata would. It just feels a lot heavier because, well, it's double the weight. There you go. That is living proof that the 350Z is the best drift car for the money, especially if you're just starting out.